Good morning, everybody. It is Renee, and I have Sara Mulero here today with me. I haven't gotten to chat with Sara in quite some time, but Sara, I'll let Sara tell her story of where she's come from, and I love Sara's maintenance tips. I've had a lot of people reach out to me on social media and ask me how to phase out and get tips for maintenance. So here's your opportunity. If you have questions, put them in the chat and we will answer them. Hey, Sara, how are you?
I am doing pretty good amongst all this crazy, getting a little bit stir crazy, not used to being in the house this much. So think like the rest of us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We were just talking about how phase one is that time when we really have the best immunity. So let's talk a little bit about where you've come from, and then we'll head on into talking about, phase two.
So if you may recognize me from YouTube or randomly on Facebook, I was featured as one of the Amazing Transformations, and I started out the program almost 500 pounds, 460 pounds. I did this out of spite. I like to always say that because I think women, for the most part, we all kind of run on the same juice. But more so, I stayed the ground. I lost 340 pounds, and I've been maintaining for roughly 3 years. Not that I'm counting. I am 100%. But the main thing is, especially in a time like this, like Renee was talking about, you have choices to make, right? So one of those choices is, do I stay on protocol? Me personally, I actually jumped back on phase one whenever this all started to happen. For protein, I cover the states of Arkansas and Oklahoma, and Arkansas was probably one of the first 4 states that really coronavirus came out in, and I have an apartment. So I panicked and I thought, my immune system is at its top peak in phase one. I'm doing this. So I navigated through that. I think day like 12 in phase one. I don't remember. I'd look at my journal. But I can tell you I feel a lot more confident that I'm not going to have any issues going forward getting a virus or coronavirus or any of those things. I'm in Texas in the house, so it's not like I'm out running the roads or anything saying I'm invincible because I'm in phase one. But the thing that Renee was saying earlier, some of you feel like you have to phase off because of, whether it be you don't feel comfortable in phase one during this time, or maybe you're having an issue acquiring the correct foods. I mean, in some areas that is a legitimate problem. What I have been strongly suggesting, and this is something that I take for granted because I grew up in rural America, is getting your veggies fresh, properly washing them, that did a video on, and then going forward with it. And a lot of people in Oklahoma, they have experience where the vegetables that aren't frozen, they're used to getting like frozen vegetables, right? So that's one thing you can do. But if you're going into maintenance, the thing that you don't want to do is just jump on board and start eating a bunch of crap. Okay. And Renee knows me. I'm pretty straightforward. So I'm going to talk to my best friend.
I love it.
Because y'all are my best friends. So anybody who is on ideal protein, living this lifestyle, y'all are my people. So the one thing you want to do is properly phase off and get with your coach. And maybe your coach is new to this. I mean, some clinics are brand new when this all came out, right? Reach out to people and we can link you up with people in your area who may have more base knowledge to be able to move you into maintenance. And this is an unprecedented time in the world, honestly. Whoever would have thought in 2020 we would be in a pandemic, okay? Like, nobody could see this. So virtual coaching is definitely 100% on board right now. And coaches and clinics are coming together to support each other. So don't feel like you're going behind your coach's back to ask for more help. They're just as scared as you are, guys. They don't know if A, their jobs are in jeopardy for some of them, B, if they're going to be the person who passes coronavirus if they see you in office, and maybe they don't have the means to do a Zoom call like what me and Renee have. Those are the different things that you have to think about in the eyes of your coach. So even if you feel like you are not able to get as much information, reach out. Okay? Now, let's say you properly phase off. You go through the motions of phasing off and you're still living a low carbohydrate lifestyle. Should you lose your mind and eat a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream the first night in maintenance? God, no. What you've just done is open yourself up to a plethora of issues, okay? Main one is things like sugars and all of those. They lower your immune system. So when people were panic buying in the grocery store, whenever bread, candy, all the junk, right? So those people are all lowering their immune system. They're not helping their immune system. So main thing is just try to stay as low carb as you possibly can. And it could be your maintenance, different squashes that are available that are not allowed on phase 1 or things of that nature. Berries, because you can usually get those frozen. And some of us have berries right now in our backyards. Not me yet, but some areas have already had vegetables and things growing. So think of those things. Don't immediately go to processed and shelf stable things, because typically if those things are able to hang out on the counter and they're cool, they're probably not good for your body.
Yeah. One thing I think is really important, Sarah, and if you could speak to this, why do I need to go into phase 2 and for how long?
So phase 2, really now moving forward in the new world of ideal protein, phase 2 could be the rest of your life if you wanted it to be. Okay. The main reason for moving into phase 2 is so that you're introducing carbohydrates and healthy fats at a titrated amount. Okay. So that you're not like going and having Ben & Jerry's or having a whole pizza or whatever it is, okay? And I'm just using these as examples because in crazy times, we do crazy things, right? So,
yes, we do.
Keeping lower carbohydrate is the best way to do it. And the new phase 2, it walks you through all of that. So, I mean, if you feel like you just can't hang out in phase 1 here, moving into phase 2, it stops the weight loss portion of this, okay? You start to stabilize and you get a little more freedom. You get complex carbohydrates, you get good fats. It teaches you how to eat adequate protein so that you're feeding your body all the healthy things it needs and not giving it all the bad things it needs. It doesn't need, not that it needs. So there's the pros of that is actually helping train the pancreas to do its job, okay? Because the one thing, and we're all, as coaches, we try not to inundate you with too much science, because then you kind of look at us like, what? Talking to you. The main thing as a coach that we're looking for is your pancreas getting reset and your behavior patterns changing. Okay. Spoiler alert. That's what we're doing. And so if your pancreas has had a proper reset, it means that it hasn't really been doing a whole heck of a lot while you've been in phase 1. So to easily wake it up, I always compare it to a hibernating bear. Is if there's a bear hibernating in a cave and you walk in, you punch him in the face, is he very happy? No, like bear, it's going to be crazy mad, right? The same thing with your pancreas. If you go from phase 1 to just eating whatever you want, your pancreas is like, whoa, what in the heck is happening here? I'm going to make a ton of insulin because it doesn't know what it's doing, right? But if we go into phase 2 and we eat the suggested amount of carbohydrates, the suggested amount of fats, your pancreas is like, oh, Sarah had a cup of blackberries. That's 12 grams of carbs. I'm going to produce just enough insulin to take care of those carbs. So it's really about helping retrain the body. Kind of like, think of it like physical therapy.
Yeah, and I like to explain it like if we go from phase one to phase Wild Wild West, basically our fat cell goes, OMG, I don't know how to process these carbohydrates. So here's our tiny little fat cell here, and now it just starts stuffing stuff in there, and boom, you just take on fat, and it's so interesting because I'll have clients say to me, well, I just don't understand why I just gained 5 pounds. Like, how can that happen? Just like that.
It does. Here's the thing, y'all, especially us women, your body's a hoarder, okay? No big secret there. We know if we look at something, we feel like our butt just outgrew our jeans, right? Well, there's some science to that. Just like Renee was saying, your fat cells never go away. They just hang out dried up, waiting for the moment for Sarah and Renee to say, I would like to reuse this. And so as soon as you give it the green light to go, boy, it is just filling up fat cells like it's its full-time job.
Yeah. And so the thing that, we want to get across to you is if you feel like you are in a space where you need to phase out, you want to phase out, think really long and hard on that, because during this period of time where we are sitting in the house, we're not doing anything, we're not getting, our usual, day, run to the office, go here, pick up the kids, make dinner, all of that stuff. We're not getting that in. We're changing metabolically. And I encourage all of you to stay the course and to use this time. This is the best time ever to be on phase one. Number one, you're building your immune system and you're in the best spot with your immune system. Number two, there's nowhere to go. So you can't tell your coach, oh my gosh, I had a birthday party I had to go to. Well, my friends had a happy hour. I had a company event. I had to travel. I had to go to a conference. There's none of that going on. So, I know it's difficult when we're all sitting around. It's easy. Let's talk for a moment about boredom eating. I talked on Tuesday with Wendy about this. What's your take? How do you avoid it?
Well, so the funny thing is, I am more of a cereal skipper, if you will. And if anybody follows my recipe page, usually my lunch posts are like 3:00 in the afternoon because I have literally just not even eaten anything. So anyhow, I do boredom eating more when I'm actually at work, which is crazy, right? You would think it's vice versa. But what I like to do is keep celery on hand. I keep my water enhancers on hand because I typically know, me personally, I'm not hungry when I'm wanting just to be bored hungry. I'm actually thirsty. And I think that's a lot of us because I don't drink a ton of water like I should. I'm probably getting in my 64 ounces, like just 64 ounces on the dot. And honestly, we all require a lot more water than that as a human being. So I have been focusing more on hydration. So the moment I feel like I'm hungry, I drink 20 ounces of water first. And then typically I'm like, oh, hey, I'm not hungry anymore. The other thing, while you're home, do something, do a puzzle, sign up for an online yoga class. I mean, keep your hands busy. That's what I've been doing in the evenings is guided meditation, journaling, and then yoga. And to talk about what Renee said earlier, you know what? We are really, as women especially, we give 100% of ourselves away all throughout life. And make this about you. This time right now while we're quarantined and we're doing social distancing, this is the perfect time to focus on yourself and, be greedy, okay? The family can fend for themselves. There's plenty of food in the house. And you know what? A piece of celery never killed anybody. So they could eat what you're eating vegetable-wise and probably build their immune system right along with you, more so than if they had frozen pizza or whatever it may be. But truthfully, on there, you also have to think about why is it important to focus my quarantine time on myself? Because guess what? Life has literally come to a screeching halt outside of your house, and you have no better time than 24 hours a day to make this about you. And I, for one, will tell you, and Renee knows this about me, I spend zero time on myself normally. I give to all my clinics and my husband and everybody and their brother. There's not really a lot of time for Sarah. And so I have decided, and I think everybody else should probably look at this too, that I need a routine, because I think a lot of us are out of our daily routines right now.
Yeah.
I made a statement on my cooking video, and I am cooking, but I go into rants. Everybody knows this. And it's not a bad rant. It's always a good rant. But, I find myself, I'm sleeping like 6 to 8 hours, which 90% of us do not do on a regular basis. I'm like actually getting up at a decent time, but I'm finding, and we see those memes online, that's like, I'm changing into my evening pajamas from my daytime pajamas. We're all doing those things. So like even having a regular routine of like, I get up at 7, I get in the shower, I put makeup on and do my hair. While I may be in yoga stuff, I'm still getting dressed outside of pajamas. And you don't really understand mentally what you're doing to yourself until you physically force yourself to do these habits. And I'll tell you, I've only been homebound since Wednesday of last week, and I was getting nuts by Monday. And so I had a little coming to Jesus talk with myself Monday. It was like, girl, you need to get your act together. Like, you look like a hot mess on Zoom with your team meeting. My hair wasn't done. I had no makeup on. I'm like, it looked like I rolled out of bed, because I had pretty much done that, right? So, but you all get into this complacent mode, and you don't put the focus on yourself because you're trying to dictate everything outside your house. And you can't do that. So make it about yourself and just be greedy. Take this time.
We're going to use that as our tagline. Hashtag just be greedy.
Be greedy for yourself because you have the time. Typically, the reason why you don't have any time for yourself is because you're doing all this stuff outside the house, taking kids to practice, taking kids to here, taking kids there, doing this for your spouse, whatever it may be, doing this for your coworkers and your boss and yada, yada, yada. Everybody but you, right? So take this time and really focus on you, even if it's just doing a facial for 20 minutes in the bathroom.
Or take a bath.
Take a bath. I'm not fall asleep in the bathtub. Just don't get too much water. But just give yourself some time. I mean, those are the things that I'm trying to do, and I'll be more than happy to share a picture of my routine that I'm trying to do. I mean, just something as stupid as every other day, do your whitening trays and sleep with your retainer. Okay. I'm a 36-year-old woman. I should not need a reminder to do those things. But you all been in the same shoes as me. You get home, it's late. You don't want to deal. You just pass out, right? And that's the life that I have been living. And now that I'm trying to make a new routine, I made a list of all the important things. And one of them is I don't want to go back into braces as a 36-year-old woman. So, hey, wear your retainer, girl.
I did that in my 40s. Yeah, it's pretty stupid. So I love that. And routine is something I was talking about with Megan, my gym owner. And, it takes a while. So I've actually been basically quarantined because we shuttered in the San Francisco Bay Area 2 Mondays ago, but they had already started shutting down, things. So it's really been, we're I don't want to say used to it. But a lot of people, it happened yesterday or it's going to happen, Utah, so a friend in Indiana. So, rushing around and trying to figure it out. So the thing I think for me, and as I was telling Sarah, in the last couple of weeks, I've gained 4 pounds, and, I'm irritated with myself about it. But it's something where it's not because I was eating ice cream and pizza. You can overeat too many Ideal protein bars or, just, you can just be overdoing it. And I was over. I just, like, well, I had those chips. Yeah, a half of a bar won't be, I like a little sweet after I have a little savory. And then, well, I already ate half the bar, so why don't I get to finish the whole bar? And I mean, seriously, those are our thoughts. And it's interesting because I think that clients think we don't have those things that happen to us as coaches. But honestly, I'm a coach so that I can keep myself in check.
Nobody is perfect. I don't care if your coach tells you I'm 100%, 100%. I never make a mistake. I have had other interviews with Renee, and Renee has come out and visited me, and I am very candid with my audience base. Look, I have the same destructive mental thoughts that you all have, okay? Sometimes I think I've ordered really well when eating out, and then it comes and I'm like, whatever, you're over it, right? Those things. And everybody has those same thoughts. We're all human beings, regardless if my name is coach or not, it's not God. So I'm still going to have those same mental battles on a daily basis. It's even like, yesterday, for an example, it was 3:00 before I had my lunch. And in my mind, it was like, why even? And I knew better. Like, I literally know the scientific reason why I shouldn't do that. But as a human, we get into that pattern. And then by the end of the night, like Renee said, I was like, oh, I had a brownie, but I'd just like a little bit more something sweet. Maybe I'll get you a mug cake. And then I'm like, what are you thinking? Like, what is wrong with you? So literally those same conversations that you all have mentally, Renee and I have them. Like, you could probably have a monologue right out of her head. And
I don't know who this person is, but there must be another coach watching and said, and yes, for sure, coaches are human and we make mistakes and we learn from them. Hopefully, yeah, it's so true. Okay, we have about 7 minutes left. Sara, kind of. You've gone through a lot with your transformation, and sorry guys, the sun, I just can't figure out where to put the sun. What's your biggest tip for someone? Let's say you've lost 20, 30, 50, 80 pounds. You're now going into maintenance. You're scared. What's your biggest tips for that?
I think, Renee, my biggest tips, if you're scared going into maintenance, just remember the foundation you built with phase 1, because you can always be shy on carbs, and that's fine. And in phase 1, we kind of make you carbohydrate phobic, which is not a terrible thing.
No, it's not.
It's not.
I live that way, so.
I do too. But it's sometimes you have the choice of you are carb phobic, or sometimes people just go nuts. And so if you're scared, really, I mean, that fight or flight part of your life really kicks in. And so I think what you should do, and this is what I've taught everybody I've ever come in contact with, is you always go back to your base, okay, which is your foundation to your house, phase 1. And then you think about your healthy fats and your carbohydrates we added in phase 2. And even if you just eat berries twice a day, because you're scared to eat anything else carbohydrate-wise, that's totally fine. You don't need very much to live, okay? It's been scientifically proven you don't need complex carbohydrates to live.
I think that's so funny because people think, well, I'm supposed to have a piece of toast, or I'm supposed to have this or that. Well, let's go back to when people didn't know what toast was.
When we were living in caves, they didn't make bread, y'all. They ate berries and whatever things grew outside. Hell, probably wasn't even edible, but they were eating it, right? So that is the difference. We've been taught things, like just like Renee and I just said, we have been taught to have something sweet after something savory. Okay. And as much as we like to think we're entitled to those things, it is a taught type of thing that took place even at birth. Okay. Birthday parties, growing up on the farm, we would have a whole big dinner and then we would have something sweet afterwards. And so as an adult, even though I haven't lived that lifestyle in probably 20 years, I still, just like Renee said, have something savory. And then I'm like, I I could use a brownie. A little piece of it comes up important, right? Those types of thoughts. So it's really about paying attention to what you're doing and separating what's going on. Keep a journal, okay? I know we're not going to have a diary anymore, but sometimes just journaling your food is not enough. And journaling your feelings about what you're feeling at the time that you're craving those things is usually a lot more telltale. And so that's something that I think a lot of people kind of dismiss. So really kind of get in your feels, as I like to say, and figure out why you're doing those things. Because really, and I know Renee knows the answer to this, and I do too, I'm an emotional eater, okay? And if things are going awry, the first thing I think of is not, ooh, grilled vegetables and savory proteins. It's like, I need this and I need sugar, right? So it's your knee-jerk reaction of how you grew up and what's instilled inside of you as your norm. So do we have to have a piece of toast in the morning? No. Could you have some berries with your yogurt in the morning? Heck yes, in maintenance, that's fantastic. Go for it. So don't feel like you have to have carbohydrates. If you just want to kind of hang out in phase one with some added fats and some berries the rest of your life, that's awesome. You're killing.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting because when I first did a ketogenic diet, I actually did Atkins, and I did not do a high-fat version because I don't eat that way anyway, and it didn't make sense to me. So that was back, it was about 20 years ago when I was about 38 years old, and you know, the one thing that I realized, because I had done every program on earth and I would lose at such a slow rate, because usually I was starving myself, and you know, I'd lose 1.5 pounds a month, like running 20 miles and, you know, eating practically nothing. And so when I did the ketogenic diet and I was able to lose 8 pounds, boom, in 3 weeks, I was like, holy cow, this is obviously how I need to live if I want to keep my weight off. And that was a really big focus for me, and I encourage people, don't give up. You know, if you're really struggling keeping your weight off, don't give up. There really is something for you, and finding that place is usually with a coach. But and either I'm now going into the sunset here. But you know, I wanted to pop up Josephine's comment here, and she says, great tips for me. I am so sensitive to carbs. So over the past 4 years of maintenance, I've really tried to listen to my body. This is what I tell our dieters as well. We need to listen to our bodies to realize how we feel, even if we eat the allowed amount of carbs, and remember that moving forward. So, you know, there is no one size fits all when it comes to maintenance. So, I think, you know, that's my biggest, if I want to say, you know, bitch about online forums, is you have a lot of people giving out information that is incorrect, and you have a lot of people that struggle themselves. So, you know, when they say, well, I lost 60 pounds drinking Diet Cokes, well, let's talk about drinking Diet Cokes. Yeah, in another 20 years, you're going to have osteoporosis, and you may end up with cancer from all the aspartame. So was it worth it to lose 60 pounds drinking Diet Cokes? That's not the point.
No. You know? That's a good point, Renee. And Renee knows that is one of my pet peeves about these big Facebook groups and those things, is that just because something worked for one person and they had no repercussions, if Renee and I did the same thing, we would pay the ultimate price.
I'd blow up.
Exactly. I mean, that's honestly, there's way more people that pay the ultimate price than the person who got away with it. And the main thing is just knowing that when we're in phase one, and this is the whole reason why Renee got involved in Idle Protein and myself, is that we are trying to get you cellularly, like meaning at a cellular level, the healthiest we can possibly be. Renee has been very upfront about her struggle with her thyroid. And when she came to meet me, I worked in an endocrinology clinic, and it was like, she was like, oh my God, all these things I have researched on my own, they're legitimate. And it's nice to actually find a endocrinology office that actually believes in all these things that I knew were happening, and you're like, you speak my language. So it's a true thing. Like on a cellular level, we're trying to get you the healthiest. That's why we take away some stuff, because just because you can have it doesn't mean it's good for you.
Yeah, and speaking to the thyroid, you know, eating sugar and refined carbohydrates is the absolute worst thing that you can do. And I see so many posts about, oh, my autoimmune, and basically this is how I have to live the rest of my life, taking medication, and it's so not true. And some things cannot be completely reversed, but we can. Those symptoms that you get with your hyperthyroid, hypothyroid, your Epstein-Barr, Lyme's, all of these autoimmune diseases, there's an underlying issue. There's more going on, and 99% of it is your gut health. So that gut health, that eating that sugar and not taking care of ourselves has caused us to have hypothyroid. It's caused us, to trigger all of these autoimmune reactions, and for the body to turn and attack itself. And we're way off track at this point. But yeah, I mean, I can't say that enough, because I see so many people. I'm in the absolute best place I have ever been with my thyroid, and I attribute it to a bunch of different things: proper supplementation, working with an integrative practitioner that can help you. I don't take any meds any longer, which I'm very happy about. It's your food, your nutrition, eating, things that are organic, and organic foods are keeping us away from all the pesticides and endocrine disruptors that cause us problems. And people think that's not a real thing. It's a real thing. The way that you eat is a real thing, the foods that you choose. And if you're unable to eat organic, get an organic wash and soak your veggies for 30 minutes, and get all of that crap off of there that it's being grown with. But exercise, super, super important. And stress is the biggest endocrine disruptor that I know of. So and it's easier said than done, but those are definitely the things. All right, you guys, we have we've run the gamut here on today's show. And if you have some questions, we will be doing Tuesday, Thursday. I'm going to have a bunch of people, a bunch of different coaches on that specialize in the different areas. So send me your questions, because that's how we're going to just keep coaching everybody right on to getting through the coronavirus and staying healthy, and staying at home and doing the right thing. Sara, thank you so much. Do you have any last words you want to say?
Well, I think in closing, just really focus on yourself, your mental well-being, and your overall health in general. Really, really think about, can I be successful in phase one, and why do I feel like I can't be, before you just jump the ship, okay? Really make it about you and see, really, is this something for you right now, or do you need to take a break? And if you do, open communication, 100%, okay?
Yeah, and stick with your coach. So my thing always is, maintenance is the most important time when we meet on a very consistent basis.
Yes.
So, all right. Thanks, Sara. Everybody have a fabulous day. If you're watching this in the replay, give us a hashtag replay, and we wish you the best through this difficult time. Have a good one, everybody. Bye, Sara. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.